Hi, this is George Alger, and welcome to another segment of Our Ventura TV. Today our guest expert is Tim Hockett, who is the Executive Director of Community Action of Ventura County. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, George. Great to be here.
Good, so let's start with the basics here. First of all, what is Community Action of Ventura County?
Community Action is the local county's community action agency that was established in 1966 as part of the federal government's war on poverty. So we're getting close to celebrating our 50th anniversary in the county. It was the conviction of the federal government back then that, and I still think it's a good conviction, that solutions to poverty are best designed and rolled out at the local level. And so we've been here for 48 years fighting poverty in Ventura County.
Wow, just to make sure I have this part right, so it's a national organization with local affiliates.
Actually, they're independent entities. There are 56 of them in California and 1,100 across the United States. Ours is a private nonprofit organization.
Okay, good. Now,
but we are affiliated. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now tell me a little bit about the folks involved with this group.
Thank you. Well, by statute, community action agency boards are tripartite in nature. So 1/3 are elected local officials or their designees, 1/3 are private sector folks, and 1/3 are representatives of the poor. They don't have to be poor themselves, but they need to be speaking for low-income community. So we have a board of 15 people that's comprised that way. 40 people as our staff that carry out a number of services and programs. And then me, I've been executive just the last 2 years, but I have 25 years of experience with community action and the network.
Good. Now what does the group do?
We do anything we can first to help people survive poverty and then help them get up out of poverty. The first part might take the place of energy assistance or weatherizing a home or providing some sort of food support for a family that's struggling. We do a number of programs along those lines. The second part, helping people get up out of poverty, is a much harder job, and it requires usually education on the part of the person, learning some things that you'd think that some people might know offhand, to stay out of poverty, budgeting their money and handling things like that. But we operate programs. We also know that we need to build partnerships to expand our reach, and we also advocate, even if we don't provide a particular service. For example, we don't provide services for people who are victims of domestic violence. We can sure advocate for services for those folks because they do often become impoverished because of their plight. And so we'll advocate, we develop programs and services, and then we also build partnerships. The way that we do it is we go about it through asking a big question every 2 or 3 years. Where's the community hurt? And what can we do about it? And so that requires a community needs assessment. So we do that assessment, we look at what are the issues that the community faces, housing difficulties, transportation difficulties, income difficulties, job difficulties, and then we do a strategic plan, and then we organize and move forward to address those causes and symptoms of poverty.
Wow. Okay, now, how do you reach out to those that are actually in need? They may or may not know about you, so they may not be coming on your radar screen. How do you connect up?
Well, we do it several different ways. We have contracts, for example, to provide energy efficient appliances under the Edison contract. So Edison will actually reach out to its customer base to find low-income families that have those old roundy top old non-energy efficient refrigerators that just make your power meters spin, and they'll arrange through a referral to us for us to go out and replace that refrigerator, no cost to the client. Other programs, we have outreach workers. We sign up folks to CalFresh, which is California's approach to food stamps. And we'll send workers out to community centers or senior centers, wherever we think we can find folks that might benefit from the programs, and do outreach that way. We don't do much advertising, and unfortunately we have still very high demand, but that's how we reach out to the community for the most part.
Good, and how do you even quantify or qualify poverty? I mean, is it just a number, or are there other factors?
Well, sadly, it isn't just a number for to a lot of people. We live in a pretty wealthy county here in Ventura, and I love every minute of it. But that just means that the prices are high, the gap between the wealth and those who are poor is very wide, and it's pretty tough. The federal government actually quantifies or qualifies poverty on a chart. They simply take into account household income and how many people are in your family. And to give you an idea what that poverty line is, imagine someone working and earning about $11.40 an hour full-time, but taking care of a family of 4. That's the federal poverty line. And George, there are 89,000 people in Ventura County under that line. Some of them are far below that line. There's another way that we count the magnitude of poverty, and that's through the homeless count. That's probably the measure of the deepest depths of poverty. And there are almost 1,800 people on the day that we count homelessness in this county each year that are homeless, living outside.
Yeah. Now, I'm kind of interested in this poverty level. Is that a national average, or does that take into account that, for instance, on the coast, it is more expensive to live than in the middle of the country?
Excellent point. No, it's a national average. Of course, if you're living somewhere where costs are relatively low, for example, I visited Birmingham, Alabama, and housing costs there were really low compared to out here. I mean, for $300,000, you could live in a mansion, and I'm not kidding you. When you come out here, $1,575 is the average rent for just a 2-bedroom apartment. And so that federal poverty line does not take into account local cost of living, and it is quite high here. Never mind that we all pay $4 a gallon for gas, but people who have limited income are actually paying a much higher proportion of their income to that. So it's tough here.
Yeah. Do you have your own, or is there any local level that's deemed poverty that's different from the federal level?
No.
Okay.
No. We've tried over the course of time, but no, there's not.
Yeah, okay. You work with volunteers.
We do work with volunteers, and we have a number of lovely folks who come in and help us in many, many ways. There was a fellow that was going out. We operate a homeless transition center, a drop-in center for homeless people, where they can get showers and they can have lockers and access the internet to try to look for work, and there's a job search and things like that available. But we have showers there and laundry there. And one fellow went out and visited several hotels in the area and got little soaps and toiletries and so forth donated, just so that we can help with some little grab bags for hygiene supplies, for just things like that are just fantastic. A church will come in sometimes and feed everybody, 60 to 100 people on a given day, just because they want to be benevolent and kind. So yeah, lots of volunteers.
Now, in terms of volunteers, is there a place they go to volunteer, or is there many places they could volunteer? How does that work?
Well, they would need to call us, and then we would take their information and see if we can find out what their specific interest is, and then move forward with it. And because we want to place a volunteer in an appropriate spot. Sometimes stuffing envelopes is really important. But other times, we've had professionals that volunteer. We have volunteers that come in on the one-stop program, which is through the county health department, where there are doctors and dentists and mental health professionals that come in, attorneys that come in and try to help people deal with whatever barriers are keeping them homeless. So volunteerism doesn't need to be something just simple and rudimentary. It can be very sophisticated type of volunteerism.
Tim, with your perspective over all these years, is there some kind of solution you can see to poverty?
Wow, George. That's
a
great question.
At the risk of oversimplifying things.
To me, it's unacceptable in the greatest country on this globe, and I really do believe that there are so many people still impoverished. The failing is not the part of each and every one of those individuals. Part of the problem in our society is we tend to blame poor people for being poor. They're either lazy or some other thing has happened. When many of us can attribute our success to being in the right place at the right time, or having great parents, or getting good advice, or having that one teacher that inspired us, or all those other things. There are people who are in poverty through no fault of their own. Some are there through some fault of their own. But for the most part, I've seen that it's the responsibility needs to be shared. And just like we share responsibility with our children, when something goes amiss with them, so a community can share its responsibility trying to help lift other people. Sometimes folks will point the finger and say it's enabling. Most people know in their heart of hearts that helping people is somehow fundamentally good. And I'm interested in people helping people, not because it just helps those who are helped, but it's good for you too, to be a helper, to be kind, to be benevolent. I think it's also good for our economy. The fact that businesses thrive when there are more customers is really what we need to be after. And so those who have more buying power are going to be able to purchase more, and our community will thrive if we lift people at the bottom. But it's a big, big problem. And we see symptoms in our agency. Someone can't pay their prescription, someone can't pay their rent or their power bill or whatever. The idea, though, is to try to lift up everybody so that nobody falls too far below and falls out of what we like to think is the great middle class of our country.
Good purpose. So we're almost out of time here. If someone wanted to find out more, is there a website they can go to?
www.ca-vc.org, Community Action Ventura County. Just Google search it and you can find it, yes?
Good. And is there a summating message that you'd like to convey to the viewers?
You know, I do want the viewers to remember not to judge people because they're poor. They haven't walked in their shoes. It's very easy to judge them. Be ambassadors, be generous, support the charity of your choice. If you want to support us, we'd be more than happy. We'd love to get your contributions, and we're good stewards of those. And also, you know, if you would like to volunteer, give me a call.
Awesome. It's great work you're doing, Tim.
Thank you so much, George.
This is George Alger signing off for another segment of Our Ventura TV, and until we meet again.